Welcome back to the Endgame guide on the Pawnstorm YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. Today we will be continuing our Endgame guide with talking about specific mating patterns. Now, if you enjoy talking about mating patterns and you want me to do more of these types of videos, let me know in the comments below. Subscribe, hope you enjoy. Today we're talking about Boden's mate, which is a very famous, well-known technique of checkmating the opponent with just a couple of bishops. In this position, this is what we're starting. This is the base position we're starting with. So here we have a queen and two bishops against a rook and a knight. So we are up in material. Also, you notice both sides have 3 pawns. So we are up. We are up. They are up in exchange, but we have a queen. So we are up a good bit of material here. Now, the move that I want you guys to look for is might not be the first move that comes to your mind. It is actually a sacrifice, and that sacrifice is this move, queen takes c6. Now, what's very important about queen takes c6 is that black only has one move they can play, which is pawn takes, right? If you notice, king can't go there. There's no piece that can block. So think about these 3 things. When there's checks, think about, can the king block? Can the king take the attacking piece, or can the king move? Now, the only move that works here is taking the attacked piece, taking the attacking piece. And then we sneak in for a nice, simple, beautiful Boden's mate. All right, that's what the Boden's mate look like. So in order for this to work, you must have preferably a rook here blocking the king so the king cannot move. And then you notice this bishop crisscross applesauce, and it snipes off the squares here and here. And the knight is just stuck there and not allowing the king to move. So in order for this mate to work, it needs to be in this specific position here. So this is quite common after maybe white or black, like maybe long castles. We trade off a rook, the other rook comes over, and the knight, we trade everything off, and we end up in this position. So if you see that this is available, definitely go for it. Very beautiful. You'll get a brilliant move for this. You will, because it is a sacrifice of a queen leading to checkmate in one move. So this is the base position I'm talking about. Now let's go over a couple of games that I thought we might learn from, and they all have to do with this specific Boden's mate pattern. So let's go to the first game. Alright now guys, so before we go into the actual example game for the Boden's mate, I want to go over this quick opening where you can get a Boden's mate. Now, one of the best openings you can play with the white pieces in order to try and get a Boden's mate, again, it's not a guarantee, but one of the best openings you can play in order to try and get one is the black Mardimer Gambit with d45 and e4. And then after black takes, obviously you want them to take, you're going to go the move c3, and then you're going to gambit the second pawn as well. Take back with the queen. Most common thing here, I would say, at most levels, to take back the second pawn. Maybe in some cases it's not good, but you're wanting them to do that. And then you're going to go play bishop to e3 and long castle. Now after this, you'll see what's quite common is for black to long castle, actually. After knight to d7, they long castle. And here, you want them to long castle because after bishop to f4, they're forced to move their queen somewhere. And actually, it can be it's hard to pick the exact right square. So here, if black plays queen to h5, this is the big blunder that costs black the game. See if you can spot the move that wins white the game in about 2 moves. I'll give you a couple seconds for that. Okay, so if you said queen takes c6, you would be correct. You do sacrifice the queen, but you get a Boden's mate on move 13, just a couple moves after that. So this is a great example of this. And what's so funny is that it really does not look like this mate works. Here it's just 2 bishops against a king. Look at all these pieces. They have the whole army. You just gave up a queen. They have all these pieces around the king trying to defend, but just 2 little bishops. And because the only reason it works is because you boxed your king in with the rook, the knight, the pawn here. That's the only reason it worked. And yeah, just 2 bishops and you can checkmate. So this is a great position. This is a great example. Now let's move on to the actual game that was played. I believe it's somewhere around 30 move game, played between Paul Morphy and James Thompson, I believe. And that should be fun. So let's check out that next. Alright guys, so Paul Morphy is playing with white pieces, and if you notice, yes, he is actually playing down a knight, which I thought was kind of interesting, but it's because he was so good that he's playing down a knight against, I believe it was James Thompson. Let me just make sure. Yes, it was James Thompson was playing with black pieces. E4, E5, knight to F3, knight to C6, bishop C4. This is the Italian opening, played somewhere in the thousands of times, maybe even millions of times, I don't know. Bishop to C5, B4, this is the Evans Gambit. Bishop takes B4, C3. This is very common with the Evans Gambit. Bishop to B6. And now D4, take, knight takes, pawn takes, and bishop takes F7. This is something called deflection. So this is a very important tactic. If you guys learn this, it can be very helpful. So the point is you're deflecting the king, right? The king does not want to take, right? If you take, you're deflecting the king from the queen, and this is a check. So black has to respond. If they take, you win the queen. So black goes here. Now queen to b3. Now white is setting in for the kill. Knight to f6, and bishop to a3 check, c5, rook a d1. Okay. Now f4. They're striking out on the other side of the board. This is one thing that makes top players really good, tough nuts to crack, is because they can attack you from the center, they can attack you from the king side, they can attack you from the queen side, and they just attack you from all sides of the board. So it makes it very hard to react because they're attacking you from everywhere. Rook f8, bishop to c4. Now rook to e1, bishop to d7, bishop c1. White reroutes the pieces and brings it to bishop to f4. Now rook to d1, king to d8, e5, and here black's got to make a decision. Okay, do they move the knight? If they move the knight, they relinquish the defense of the bishop there on d7. So what do? Well, they go knight to e8. Now queen to a4 is played. Obviously, the bishop cannot take because of the pin, and white is threatening checkmate on the next move. So we have queen to g4 defending, but now we have e6. Right? Black still cannot take the queen due to the pin. And now we're going to be winning the bishop. Knight to f6. Rook takes d7 check. And here, black has a couple options. So depending on how black plays, white can either checkmate or just have a good advantage from this position. So if black plays king to e8, we play rook c7 check. Knight to d7. If we have knight to d7, we have queen takes d7 checkmate on the next move. If after rook takes d7, we have king to c8, we play queen c6 check, bishop takes, and we have a nice little Boden's mate right there with the bishop. So here we have another queen sacrifice. Here we don't even take anything with the queen. All right, here we just sacrifice the queen. The reason for this obviously is because after you take here, there's no defense for that a6 square, so you can sneak in, give a nice little checkmate, and of course the rook is protecting the square. The dark square bishop snipes this way, and the light square bishop gives that check that ends the game. What else do we have here? So we have king to e8. This one we went over that. Knight to d7. Yeah, I think that's it. So those two examples, if black plays either king to e8 or king to c8, those are some good examples from the Morphy game. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. What else do we have here? So let me just go back to the first position we had. Here it is here. So keep in mind here, let me just, change the window. Sorry about that. Let me just crop this a little bit. Sorry, guys. Okay. Editing 101 tips for y'all if y'all ever get into this. Okay. And make it a little more even. Now, again, let's just go over this one more time. This is the base position here, okay? So, you're equal, so you have a bishop for knight. You're down in exchange, so they have two points of material, but you have a queen, right? So you're up 7. You're up a rook and 2 pawns, technically. But here, again, sacrificing might be the only option. If that's the option and you have a checkmate, go for it. Obviously go for it if you have a checkmate. So this is the base position that we based all of the video on today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. The quick little Boden's mating pattern. If you guys want to see more mating pattern videos, let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you enjoyed, like the video. Again, check out the website and stuff in the description. Check out the 10-minute openings videos on the E4 basics, D4 basics, and I'll see you all for the next video. Thank you all for watching.